We are here to honor 10 retiring members of the Missouri Senate. Senators Eslinger, Razer, Eigel, Arthur, Gannon, Thompson, Rehder, Rowden, Rizzo, Koenig, and Hoskins. This is a very distinguished group of people who in total have served the public as members of the General Assembly for 115 years. The people of Missouri have benefited from their service. They are Republicans and Democrats who have worked to move the state forward in a way they believed was best. They truly embody the state's motto, to let the welfare of the people be the supreme law. As we move forward and tributes are given and retirees respond, any who are not familiar with their service will have no doubt as to the impact they have made on making Missouri a better place to live, work, and raise a family. Now, would you please rise for the presentation of colors by the Missouri State Highway Patrol Troop F Honor Guard. Today's national anthem will be sung by Miss Caitlin Thomas of California, Missouri.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming. On the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Can we show our appreciation to the Troop F Honor Guard? And would you help me show our appreciation to Caitlin Thomas? She's a junior at the University of Missouri. I think we would all agree that was incredible. Thank you so much. Our first tribute this morning, Senator Karla Eslinger, will be made by Senator Carter.
Fellow colleagues, it is my pleasure to say a few words honoring Senator Karla Eslinger, someone I've had the privilege of working with through though working with may be the generous way to describe how our relationship started. Truth be told, she may describe it more as me bumping into her with our shared passion for quality education for Missouri's children. But in true Karla fashion, she showed the characteristics of a gracious and focused leader. That's one of the many things I admire about Karla. Her ability to take on challenges, listen to different perspectives, and build strong relationships along the way. She is one of those people who naturally connect with others, fostering relationships, friendships, and professional bonds that have made her so effective in navigating the complexities of her role as a senator. As many of you know, Karla has one of the toughest jobs now as our new Department of Education Commissioner. She couldn't be here today to bask in the celebration of her Senate service because, again, in true Karla fashion, she's in a committee hearing doing what she does best, working for kids. While we might be here enjoying the final days of our Senate colleagues' careers, Karla is still in the trenches, working tirelessly for Missouri's future. With her dedication, relationships, and relentless passion for education, I'm confident she will leave a lasting impact on Missouri, and I'm honored to have been part of her journey and to have had the opportunity to know her on a more personal level. Karla, thank you for your work, for your efforts, and we want you to know that we are all rooting for your success. Thank you.
I believe Senator Eslinger is in a committee hearing. Each senator will have a chance to come up and share their remarks, but can we give one more round of applause for Senator Karla Eslinger? Next up, the tribute to Senator Greg Razer will be made by Senator Bean.
First, I'd just like to say to the Senate staff, thank you for a tremendous event last night and everything that you've done today. Thank you. Like I said, they've done a great job. So, Greg Razer was one of the first people I met when I got into the Senate. And it wasn't obvious that we were going to be friends. There he was, a Democrat from Kansas City, wearing a loud checkered suit. And there I was, a conservative Republican from the farm in the boot hill in my navy blue suit. But we quickly established a few things we had in common. First and foremost, Greg was from the boot hill. He grew up in a little town of Cooter, home of the Cooter Wildcats, and not far from me. Being from the boot hill meant that Greg and I appreciated a lot of the same things. We both grew up with the love of Poncho's cheese dip and Elvis. And when I sponsored a bill about cotton trailers, there was one senator who didn't need any explanation about what that bill was about. Having another senator of the boot hill has always been an asset in other ways too. When the Cooter Wildcats believed their basketball team was shortchanged in the state quarterfinals, they didn't have just one, but they had two senators that were calling Misha to get clarification. We also both went to Mizzou, where Greg distinguished himself as being Truman the Tiger at Mizzou games. The fact, along with his love for Elvis, might explain his unusual fashion sense. I'd like to say that I don't believe that Senator Razer's here, but I'd just like to say thank you because Senator Razer made a trip down from Kansas City to help with a personal matter that I had in my family. A lot of people wouldn't do that, and I want to say that just personally thank him for making the time to do that, and like I say, definitely helping with a member of my family. Finally, I'll tell you about a story about Greg that happened in our first session here. It was about 4 a.m. in the Senate. Everybody had had a long night. There was a lot of stress and not much sleep. On his way out of this chamber, Senator Razer had a seizure. I was right in front of him and heard him when he hit. Also, Senator Roberts was there and came out to help. When the senator didn't respond immediately, I sent my chief of staff back into the chamber and said, get a doctor, Dr. Bob Onder. We were able to revive Greg and get the EMTs there to check him out, and we all know he fully recovered and returned to the Senate. The thing that tells you about Greg, something about very important, first most, he's a dedicated senator who pushes himself to get the job done. But it also says a lot, Greg, that he could get Senators Roberts, Onder, Bean, and Razer working together for a united purpose in the Senate even after a long night of filibustering. Seriously, Greg had been the kind of senator we all aspire to be faithfully representing his district while also recognizing the needs of the state. It has been an honor to serve in the Senate with Senator Razer. Thank you.
For those of us who have served with Senator Razer, it's no surprise that he's running a little late. But if we could recognize Senator Razer one more time, and thank you, Senator Bean. Next, we'll have a tribute by Senator Bill Eigel, by Senator Denny Hoskins.
Well, I think from last night when we had our roast, and I got there and I saw on the thing that I was supposed to roast Senator Eigel, and it got to his turn and he was not there, and Senator Bean said, well, I don't think we're doing that. And I said, whoa, wait a second, there's plenty of material to work with, so just hold on a second. We're not going to let him get off that easy. So the first time that I met Senator Eigel was actually, tell a little story. So I was President Pro Tem in the Senate, and I got invited by Representative John Weeman to come and talk to the St. Charles Pachyderms here in the Capitol. And I go down there and I kind of give my speech and tell them about, hey, this is what we're doing in the House and blah, blah, blah. And there's this one guy on the front row that just kept on asking questions and was putting me on the spot, like, oh, we don't need any more. We got too much government money and we don't need to raise any the gas tax and blah, blah, blah. And so after I was done with that, Representative Weeman said, hey, I'm sorry about that guy. Like, he's just kind of out of control. He's kind of far right guy and everything else. So that guy, it was fine. It was fine. But Representative Weeman apologized profusely for this one guy in the St. Charles Pachyderm. So fast forward to December of that year, and I was at an event with my lovely wife, and I said, I want to meet this Senator Eigel guy. And so I go up and introduce myself, and I said, hey, I'm Senator Hoskins. Senator Eigel, it's nice to meet you. And he said, we've met before. And I said, we have? He said, yeah, remember at the St. Charles Pachyderms meeting, I was the guy sitting in the front row asking you all the questions? That was true Eigel fashion. So a few things about Bill. He's a loving husband to Amanda, who's here today. Also a loving father to Kevin and Lisa. Captain in the United States Air Force, a Catholic. Got his BS in Industrial Engineering from Purdue and his MBA from Webster. Bill does not eat vegetables. In fact, he says that's his food's food. And so he will not let, I don't think, anything green touch his mouth. He loves dogs. He's got 2 Great Danes and some sort of giant sheepdog named Frankie. I'm not sure what kind of dog Frankie is, but Frankie's really tall and he's a big dog too. Bill loves rolls. He could eat a whole basket of Colton rolls at one sitting. And so many times we'd have to ask for more rolls to come up anytime that we're eating there because he really loves rolls. And Bill is usually always late. So we quickly learned which restaurants in Jeff City would not seat you until everybody was there because Bill was always, it seemed like 30 minutes late. And by the way, if you go to Texas Roadhouse, they will not seat you till everybody's there. And so many times we were very frustrated sitting there waiting for Bill because we wouldn't be seated. Some called me the Bill Whisperer. And so they would always come to me and say, hey, can you talk to Bill about this? Now, I think this last session, maybe Bill was more of the Denny Whisperer, in my opinion. Bill's he was a lion in the Senate. He followed in the footsteps of some of the other great conservatives, Lager, Crowell, Schaaf, and Onder. Bill never met a tax cut that he did not like. In fact, he filed so many red meat Republican bills that were pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, downsizing government, that many of us lost count of all the conservative bills that he filed. I always found it ironic, too, that some of the same people that were so mad about Senator Eigel standing up and filibustering would be the same, because they had a bill they wanted to pass, would be the same ones that would come to me and say, hey, will you go talk to Senator Eigel? This is a bad bill, and will you see if he'll filibuster this bill for me? We want to kill this thing. Bill always put policy before personality. And he always stood on principle, and if the policy was good, conservative policy, he would vote for it, no matter who sponsored the bill or amendment. Now, I know Bill could sometimes be difficult, and I recently spoke with his mother, And she reassured me this was not something new. Bill had always been this way, even as a young child. But I know of one other great American who's disliked sometimes for his mean tweets as well. It's not just Senator Eigel. Bill's a loyal, trustworthy floor general, and he's the best on-the-spot orator that I've ever been around. It didn't matter what the topic was or who was inquiring of him or what bill it was. It seemed like he had facts about that bill no matter what. I've never had a truer colleague than in the Senate, and I'm proud to call Bill my friend. Thank you, Bill.
Senator Eigel, would you care to come to the dais? All right, I just want to say before I begin that just so you all know, when I was in the elevator on the way up here this morning, Donnie Thalhuber challenged me to filibuster the retirement ceremony. So, way to go, Donnie. He said he had, quote, never seen that before. Well, all right, well, good morning, Senate colleagues. I want to take a moment to thank all of the Senate staff and administration, my office staff, led by Ms. Sherry Kutenkooler, and formerly Mr. Jacob Scott, as well as Mr. Carter Whittam, Mrs. Dania Fields, and the late Brenda Webb, all of whom provided critical support for one of the Missouri Senate's most exciting offices. I want to thank my family, my wife Amanda, who's here today, making sure I behave myself as usual. My kids who aren't here, they grew up while I was away being a senator. They're both living their best lives far from the Senate chamber. And of course, I want to thank the members of the Missouri Senate, my colleagues, my friends, my critics, my brothers and sisters in arms, my challengers, those that checked in on me when I failed, including, by the way, and you know who you are, the colleague that called me after my most recent election to recommend my next professional pursuit, and specifically, and you know who you are, recommended that I join the seminary and take a permanent vow of silence. Now, many of you know that I'm a veteran of the United States Air Force, and if you didn't know that, I'm not really sure how you managed to avoid television, radio, and every digital media source for the past 6 months. But during my time in service, I was taught to keep all public speaking to 3 main points that lasted no more than 5 to 10 minutes. And I'm not sure what happened to me back in those days, but I'm going to try to revert to that way of thinking here in my farewell speech as I take leave of this chamber. First, be strong. Be strong, because Missouri needs you now more than ever. Our country, our republic, is more at risk from collapse today than at any time since the American Civil War. The need for the protection of our God-given rights now is paramount. The proper role of government is to protect our rights and protect the people of this state. You, in this chamber, are those protectors. Each of you were chosen through a very public process that is unlike anything else in American society. A 2-year-long public job interview that you all passed just to be here, to be that defender of rights. Every filibuster ever executed on this floor by me or my friends was done for right or wrong in an effort to protect somebody. I'm sure your bills were passed with the same spirit in mind. That is a difficult and awesome power for any imperfect human to wield. So I'm praying for you, for the Senate, for your ambitions to do good, for your strengths and your weaknesses, for your ideas that, however sometime misguided they might be, come from a place where you hope to help improve the lives of your constituents, the strength and well-being of your state, and the security of a brighter future that we hope all of our children and grandchildren
might be fortunate enough to one day see. I understand very intimately the pressure that you all are under to produce tangible results for your respective communities, to demonstrate expert knowledge on topics most of us have never heard of before we arrived in Jefferson City, and to articulate occasionally at great length on this very floor what a better tomorrow in the Show Me State looks like. Just remember, the people of Missouri chose, and the Lord's plan included, you being here right now to face all of these moments. Missouri needs you. Second, embrace your role in the Senate, whatever that may be. Consider thinking of the Senate as a team, working together to protect the rights of the Missouri citizens. In our business, there are a lot of analogies. Please allow me this last one, and I've been thinking about it for some time. I think the Missouri Senate is like a hockey team. You have the forwards on the front lines trying to move the puck in opponents' territory. These are the senators that carry lots of legislation, attend lots of bill signings with the governor. They have walls in their office full of framed bills dealing with all manner of subjects and compromises and deals. When a bill passes, it's like scoring a goal. The sirens go off, the press and partisan base cheer, the television stations cover the affair. The release of endorphins in the human brain in that moment has got to be fantastic. Everyone wants to be a forward. It's easy to enjoy the spotlight, even if Missouri doesn't necessarily need more laws and government just to be great. Success as a forward is often counted by how many bills you passed, how many deals you struck, and how easygoing and likable you were to your colleagues. When I got to the Senate in Missouri, I wanted to be a forward. I was not a forward in the Missouri Senate. Then you have the defensemen. These are senators that oftentimes sit at or near the critical 18th vote needed to pass bills through the Missouri chamber. They are deeply engaged in negotiations over the bill contents. They are lobbied heavily by the hallways to determine a vote one way or another, and often find themselves in the undecided category of most issues. Their committee or floor support or opposition often makes or breaks legislation. They are always a credible threat to filibuster on the floor, even if they only occasionally do it. They usually don't sponsor major legislation, but are often found in the back rooms of Senate offices searching for ways to bring folks together. The Senate Minority Caucus is a breeding ground for defensemen, especially in a Senate chamber that has multiple minority caucuses. I spent much of my Senate career in the minority, but I don't think that I fit in the category of defenseman either. I probably fell into the next category, the goalie. Nobody comes to Jefferson City to be a goalie. Goalies never score goals. They are infamous in Jefferson City, usually despised by the hallways, and no one gives leadership headaches like goalies. They aren't trying to score goals and pass bills, they are trying to stop them. It ain't easy being a goalie. Strangely enough, though, whenever one goalie leaves the chamber, there is always another ready to take over. God always has a plan, I suppose. Can you imagine what a professional hockey team would look like without a goalie? Remember the old saying, offense gets the headlines, but defense wins championships. Thirdly, see, I haven't forgotten my commitment to 5 or 10 minutes. Kind of. Never forget that you are more than the chair you sit in. Forgive and forget. You know, I thought it would be easy to speak one last time. And yet, in this moment, even my voice has failed. So, let me leave you with my favorite quote from the Bible, because I want you to go forth today unafraid to face that future, whatever it may be. My favorite quote is Joshua chapter 1, verse 9. Have I not commanded thee? Be bold and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be dismayed. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you shall go. God bless you all. Thanks, Mike. Good job.
Thank you, Senator Eigel. Next, we'll have a tribute to Senator Lauren Arthur by Senator John Rizzo.
Thank you to the Governor-elect for having me up here. I am happy to inform you the link of that speech. Russia has pulled out of the Ukraine. We have a Middle East peace solution, and Barron Trump has announced for 2034 presidency. But no, thank you very much, Bill, for everything what you did, and you were very helpful throughout the time we served together. Good morning. It is my privilege to toast a dear colleague and friend in the Senate. Lauren Arthur was a champion of our kids, our schools, and our teachers. During her time in the upper chamber, we raised teacher pay, doubled our investment in pre-K, changed Missouri's school funding formula to permanently increase resources for our students and classrooms. Today, Missouri is also healthier than when she took office, as working families can now get care through Medicaid expansion. Her legislation to expand postpartum coverage to new moms and kids for a full year is now law. And through her work on the state budget, hundreds of millions of dollars in new funding for mental health facilities and services is on its way to communities across Missouri. Her efforts to implement Missouri's first ever earned income tax credit were also successful. And now working Missourians can keep more of their money each year. And personally, I was honored to stand with her on the floor of the Senate to fend off attacks on Missouri's initiative petition process and to ensure that every person's vote will be counted equally no matter where they live. There have been many greats in the Missouri Senate, senators whose legacies endure long after they're gone. I am fortunate that excuse me. I'm very fortunate to spend the time that I did with Senator Arthur in the Missouri Senate. She's had a great support system with Russell and her family, and I will tell you I have a bit of, she always had an inside track with me because of her relationship to where I grew up. In the northeast part of Kansas City, where Connie grew up, where Mike Cierpiot grew up, and a lot of people I knew that were pretty tough but fair grew up. And it's an honor and a privilege to know her, to work with her, and for a friendship. Thank you.
Senator Arthur, would you care to make some farewell remarks?
Thank you, Senator Rizzo. I can't wait to toast you in just a few minutes as well. So I was worried that I'd be the only senator to take advantage of giving parting remarks, but thankfully bill will always take advantage of a captive audience in the Senate. I also want to thank Mike Cierpiot, who just leaned over and reminded me that even though I'm retired, I won't be able to collect my pension for another 30 years or so. Serving as the senator from Clay has been the greatest honor of my lifetime. It allowed me to represent the place where I grew up and the place that afforded me so many opportunities. It gave me the chance to fight for good ideas and against bad ideas, and there were a lot of bad ideas, and pass ideas that hopefully benefit constituents, neighbors, friends, and family. Most importantly, this journey guided me to meet incredible people who have enriched my life. None more important than a constituent with a great yard sign location, Russell Shankland. Many of you know Russell, and most of you like him more than me, which I understand. Some of you have even forgiven him for causing all of the filibusters that would happen whenever he'd visit. Russell, I could not have lived my dream without your support. You sacrificed so much to make this possible, and anything I've achieved in this role was made possible thanks to your patience, advice, and encouragement. I'm also really, really excited that for the first time in our marriage, I get to spend the full calendar year at home with you. I want to thank my amazing team, including my Chief of Staff, Jessica Ahn, and Legislative Assistant, Maddie Kenobi. From newsletters to phone calls to bill briefs with questions I usually fail to ask in committee, they've worked tirelessly to make Missouri better. Thank you for hanging in there, even during the difficult moments. And thank you to the incredible staff who served our constituents over the years. To my colleagues, thank you. I've learned something from each and every one of you. Some have been tough lessons, but I leave this chamber with many of you as my lifelong friends, whether you like it or not. A special thanks to our caucus staff, Chris Shappy, Donnie Thalhuber, and Seth Bundy. Many in this chamber have sought their wise counsel. The rest in this chamber have also sought their wise counsel, but won't admit it. The Senate and the state of Missouri owe these guys a debt of gratitude. To the nonpartisan staff, Christina, Patrick, Jim, Adam, the legislative research and appropriations teams behind the scenes, the doormen, Senate security, publications, the list goes on and on and on. Thank you all. You are the heart of the Senate and exemplify true professionalism. These words really cannot express my full gratitude for everyone in the ways that you've made the hard days worthwhile. And as I wrap up, I want to ask, has anyone else spent a lot of time thinking about George Washington's farewell address? No? Just me? Even though he wrote it 228 years ago, it is instructive and relevant today. President Washington warned the alternate domination of one faction over another, sharpened by the spirit of revenge natural to party dissension, is itself a frightful despotism. The Senate is a really special place. Through the frustrating work of compromise and negotiation, we forge paths forward for Missouri. We were not elected best senator or best Republican or best Democrat. We were elected senator to serve all Missourians, to protect their rights, and preserve their freedoms. That work is only made possible by upholding the integrity of this institution. So long as one faction does not dominate over another, the hope for a better Missouri can endure. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Senator Arthur. Next, we will have a tribute to Senator Elaine Gannon by Senator Mike Cierpiot.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be here today and to speak on behalf of Elaine, who is one of the finest people I've ever known. I'm sad to see her go after only one term. I've known Elaine since she came to the house in 2013. Elaine always handled herself in a quiet and dignified way. We all know some of the times we've dealt with the last few years have been difficult. We've all dealt with those, but Elaine has dealt with them with ease and grace. In her legislative career, Elaine has worked on many issues coming from education. She has had a hand in many years of shaping those education efforts that we've been dealing with. We have not always agreed, but I've never doubted her sincerity or her working in the best interest of Missourians. Recently, Elaine has led the way in the state providing better coverage for women suffering postpartum issues, as well as many other issues important to her. Elaine is returning home to a more normal life. By a normal life, with her and Dennis, who they've been married now 48 years, I believe. Elaine's got 2 kids and 4 grandkids. But her normal life is returning to the DeSoto Parks program that she managed for years. She's taught swimming lessons for 25 years. She's coached gymnastics and volleyball. She served on the DeSoto School Board as well as the Jefferson County Hospital Board, and she taught for 32 years. So as you can see, a normal life for her back in her community is very busy, and the community will be better off with, we'll be less well off, but the community that she lives in will be better off with her returning and returning to some of those activities. As I said earlier, I'm truly sad to see Elaine leave. Her efforts for all Missourians have been in the best traditions of this institution. As I said, we were a better body before her, because of her, and will be less so without her. Thank you, Elaine.
Senator Gannon, would you care to make some comments?
Thank you for the kind words, Senator Cierpiot. Standing here this morning, I cannot help but reflect upon the journey I have traveled, which has led me to this moment in my life. This journey began when I was growing up in my small hometown where my parents instilled in me values, taught me right from wrong. They were examples of a great work ethic and a deep abiding faith in God. Also, I grew up in a Republican household during a time when an overwhelming majority of the population in St. Francis County, as well as the whole state, was Democrat. My journey continued after I graduated from Southeast Missouri State University with a teaching degree. I taught middle school physical education for 32 years. I coached gymnastics, I coached volleyball, ran the summer park program, taught swimming. I completely enjoyed being an educator and have many fond memories interacting with my students. For the past 12 years, I've had numerous visitors come to my office and always happy to talk to them. But I must confess that whenever students who live in my district come to my office, the visit's a little extra special due to the many years of teaching. I can remember a man coming into my office, 6'3", 6'4", big guy, and he'd say, "You taught me how to swim." So, and always enjoyed having former students. When I retired from teaching, my plans were to enjoy my new laid-back lifestyle with my family and friends. But all of that changed when one Saturday afternoon, I received a phone call from former Representative/Senator Kevin Engler, a name that I'm sure most of you recognize. And he asked me to consider running for the House of Representatives. I probably said no 10 times, and he just told me to think about it, pray about it, talk to my family. So we hung up, and my husband was in the garage, and I went out and said, "You're not going to believe this." I said, "Kevin Engler just called and wants me to run for the House of Representatives." And he said, "Oh, you got to do that." And I said, "No, you do it." And It ended up being me. So my journey continued on to Jefferson City. During the past 12 years, I've had the privilege to serve 8 years in the House and 4 years here in the Senate. I've always considered it an honor to serve the citizens of my district and work on bills that would be beneficial for the state of Missouri. As Senator Cierpiot just mentioned, I am especially proud of the bills that became laws while serving here in the Senate. Finally, I would like to recognize my husband, Dennis, who has been by my side during my political career. I could not have done this without his help and support. I also want to recognize two very, very important people, my Chief of Staff, Heather McNally, and Executive Assistant, Janet Land. What a team. I'm eternally grateful to both of them as they have been my rock these past 4 years. Heather and Janet, you're the best. Also, I want to thank my family and friends who were with me working the campaign trail day in and day out in all sorts of weather, knocking on doors, barking dogs, walking miles each day, and putting up countless signs. As all of you know in this chamber, you can't win a race without the help of those individuals who are willing to do the work in the trenches. I have always said the best part of any job are the people you meet and the friends you make. So true is this statement. I have made an abundance of loyal and lifelong friends. What a gift that is to have. After much thought and consideration, I decided last December it was time for me to return my journey back to home. Dennis and I want to spend as much time as possible with our 2 sons, their spouses, and our 4 grandsons, as well as our extended families. I have no doubt that this journey will be the best yet to come. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
Thank you, Senator Gannon. Next, we'll have a tribute to Senator Holly Thompson Rehder by Senator Jeanie Riddle.
Good grief, that was a tough one to get up here. I was sitting over by Patrick Baker, our Senate Administrator, before this started, and I said, maybe I'll just leave my phone on and see if the Lieutenant Governor will gavel me again. Patrick didn't think that was a good idea. Holly Renee Thompson Rehder, Sikeston, Missouri. Elected to the Missouri State Senate in 2020 as the 24th woman out of 39 women to ever serve in Missouri State Senate. She is one of the original 11 who helped to write the book, You Can Too. She is the only woman elected to ever serve Senate District 27. She's the only woman to represent Bollinger, Cape Girardeau, Madison, Perry, Scott, and Wayne counties in the Missouri Senate. She served in the Missouri House of Representatives from 2012 to 2020. Senator Rehder is a Republican who has a strong faith in God with Christian conservative values and a fearless spirit. It's these values that served her well in life. Senator Rehder was born in Memphis, Tennessee, moved to Dallas, Texas, and later moved to her many-generational home in southeast Missouri. She did not have Golden Book opportunities in life handed to her on a silver platter. Oh, no. She quit school at the age of 15 to take care of her mother and younger sister after a horrific automobile accident. A wife and mama at age 16 did not hold her back. That spirit of a fierce mama bear took hold and put her in action to work to give her baby girl a better start in life than she had. She got her high school diploma. She then went on to graduate from Southeast Missouri State University with a BS in Mass Communication, emphasis in public communications for legal professionals. At the age of 19, she started working in the mailroom of a local cable company. Because of her work ethic, she rapidly worked her way up the ladder to the position of one of the top directors. After 14 years, Rehder left to work for the Cable Association. Following that accomplishment, she co-founded her own cable contracting company. Finally, on to her political career in Missouri's House of Representatives and Senate. As well as all of these accomplishments, Senator Rehder is a published author. Her book, Cinder Girl, Growing Up on America's Fringe, is a memoir describing tragic personal history with an incredible story of resilience, hope, and civic success. If you haven't read it yet, take it from me. It's worth the read. Great book, Senator. It's these life experiences that made her a successful legislator, earning her many awards and accolades, such as Conservative Achievement Award and the Legislator of the Year. Senator Rehder took on tough, contentious subjects. She worked on welfare reform. Growing up on welfare gave her an up-close and personal knowledge of its many flaws and hindrances to success. She worked to protect those who suffered from violence, sexual and domestic abuse. She became the voice for those who were silenced. Having witnessed those trapped in the opioid epidemic or mental health issues, she took on those legislative mantles to enact positive change and ensure funding. A couple of her signature pieces of legislation were the Prescription Drug Monitoring Program and Save Women's Sports Act, the later stating participation in sports is based on the gender at birth. Senator Rehder is known as a fierce fighter for those who have been silenced. She has been a tough senator for her many constituents. Daughter, sister, wife, mama, worker, student, director, lobbyist, business owner, state representative, state senator, grandmama, published author, candidate for lieutenant governor. Of all these titles earned, Senator Rehder will tell you her favorite title will always be Mama. Her best accomplishments in this life are her 3 children, Rachel Jarrett, Johnny Griswold Jr., and Christian Rehder, and her 3 beautiful grandchildren, Caden Talley, Kaylee Jarrett, and Liam Griswold. She is their yaya. Senator Rehder made a decision early in life to embrace personal responsibility and leave this world a better place than she found it. I think you would agree she accomplished just that. She has lived her life as she states, God honors hard work, obedience, and dedication. If one could draw a caricature of Senator Rehder, one would see long flowing hair, a big beautiful smile, and her signature spike high heels. In this Senate, sometimes those spikes were needed. Senator Rehder has never suffered fools or bullies lightly. Full of grace, glamour, and grit, Senator Rehder exemplifies the words from the Disney song Speechless. So come on and try. Try to shut me down and cut me down. I won't be silenced. You can't keep me quiet. I won't tremble when you try it. All I know is I won't go speechless. The best things about endings are the new beginnings that follow. Well done, Senator Rehder. Best wishes and God's blessings on your new beginnings and in this next chapter of your life. Thank you.
Senator Rehder, please come forward.
Oh my goodness, Senator Riddle, thank you so much. So I was hoping I wouldn't ugly cry when I get up here, but I'm glad we've got tissue now. So I saw them on their way up. Jeanie, thank you so much. I'd like to first start with thanking the staff that's here. I have been incredibly just shocked and amazed at how poised and kind our Senate staff is with all-nighters, and you never lose your composure. And I don't know how you do that, but y'all have all done it, and our camera guys, our entire Senate staff they're always here for us. And that's been amazing to watch. My staff, it's been over the years, being in the House and then being in the Senate, I've had the opportunity of hiring young people and encouraging them and helping them to their next step. And this year, when we started out session, I actually had 2 new staff that were new to being staff. Trey had been an intern in Senator Rowden's office. Cameron had never been even in the Missouri Senate. And, one week in, and I stand up and, roll 15 minutes off the tongue of critiquing everyone on the floor that I was upset with. And I know my staff was standing in the back with their mouths hanging open like, what have we gotten ourselves into? But it's been an incredible honor for me to be able to help young people to get to their next spot. And this is the politics in Missouri, and working in the Capitol is such a great place to start. When I announced that I was running for office, my youngest son, Christian, he was only 15. But I had always had jobs that included travel. And so being gone 3 nights a week for 5 months of the year wasn't going to be out of the normal. It wasn't going to be a big deal. What I didn't factor in was that right after I announced I was running for office, that I would get custody of my not quite 2-year-old grandson. That was a struggle for many reasons, a whole array of reasons. His mother was in deep addiction, and I knew that I was supposed to still stay in the race. But being a state rep saved my daughter's life. It is here that fighting for a PD&P that I learned about the neuroscience of addiction. Up until that point, growing up in addiction, my understanding was that it was hopelessness, that my daughter didn't have that life. She grew up with all kinds of opportunity, a 2-parent home, and a mama in her business all the time. That baby, my baby, is now 15 years old. He's taller than me, and he has the sweetest heart. Sometimes I look at him and I feel like I spent his childhood away up here fighting for others. But then God reminds me that it's because of my fights, because of my passion, that God has been able to change generations for others and for my grandson, Caden. Learning the neuroscience of addiction made me understand how to get my daughter the help that she actually needed. She's now 10 years clean and the best mama that I know. And I would have given my whole life to save hers. It is here that I've had the honor to work with people like Pastor Lyndall Flowers, Bobby Brook, and my own Miss Jane Pfeffercorn to fight for money for recovery services in the budget and to be able to show the difference between treatment and recovery, which are two very different things. In recovery, you find a support system. Before that, we were putting people in treatment, and it was just a cycle. Now that cycle can end because recovery services begin. I've been able to work to change our laws for domestic violence with lifetime protection orders, to end slut shaming and depositions for those strong enough to come forward and report. I've been able to tweak our language for sex trafficking, like making sure children cannot be charged with prostitution because they've not reached the age of consent. We've started and expanded recovery high schools. And I've made sure that girls aren't replaced by biological males on their sports teams. And yes, PDMP. So important to me. I've lost my sisters and my daddy during my years here. So always remember that life continues back home while we're up here all hours of the night fighting. Make sure your fights are worth it. Make sure you're not just carrying the mantle for a political party. Make them important and meaningful. Keep your balance. Your people will understand that you can't make it to everything if you communicate, because you have to participate with your family. I'm so thankful that God has given me that. Maybe it's because I'm an introvert and that I'm more comfortable with my family. But I've not changed who I am. Fighting for my people and being a voice for those, for whatever reason, have not been able to find their voice yet, has been an incredible honor. Growing up, I never could have imagined this. My purpose here, since starting and running for office, has been to make generational changes. People who grew up like me. And my heart is so full as I leave here today. And I'm so very grateful that God has allowed me to do just that. Not only for others, but for my family. My children, my grandchildren will not go through the things that I grew up in. The scripture that I've lived by since reading it as a young girl is Esther 4:16. If I perish, I perish.
Thank you, Senator Rehder. Next, we'll have a tribute to Senator Caleb Rowden by Senator Cindy O'Loughlin.
I know people are wondering what might I say. My relationship with Caleb has transformed, kind of like Caleb has transformed during his time here in the legislature. I came into the legislature as a Facebook warrior who complained about the legislative leadership. I am now in legislative leadership complaining about Facebook warriors. Caleb came into the legislature as a broke Christian music singer who never drank and had a minor golf addiction. He's leaving the legislature as a swamp creature with a 7-bedroom house, a major golf addiction, and tequila in his office. I guess the legislature really does change people. In all honesty, Caleb has always been a fortunate guy. He has a beautiful family, his wife Aubrey, sons Willem and Theo, and daughter Adele. And in all sincerity, I will tell you that there are a few positions where you can take the scorching comments that you take in leadership. I now understand this very well. No matter what happens or doesn't happen, someone will not like it, and you are going to take a lot of criticism. The reality is, in the Senate, we either succeed together or we fail together. Those of us serving know that very well. I appreciated Caleb bearing the burden of leadership so well. I must admit I did not know how Caleb and I would get along when I first got elected to the leadership position, which he did not want me to have. And he freely admits that. But now it's hard to imagine doing the job without seeing him every day. He truly has been a constant gentleman to me. No matter how difficult the situation, he always had an optimistic outlook and always could make me laugh, which is a good thing. The state of Missouri has been better off for the last 12 years because of his service, and I am better off from the last 6 years of his friendship. I am not sure where Caleb is headed next, but wherever it is, I know success will follow, and he will leave a lasting positive impression. Here's to my friend, Caleb Rowden. Thank you for everything.
Senator Rowden, welcome to the dais.
Thank you, Cindy. This has been a great opportunity for me, and one that I will miss and not miss all at the same time. Being in one of the top 2 leadership positions for 6 years, as many can attest to, Governor Kehoe and now Cindy and others who have held these jobs. They are tough, and they bring a lot of stress into your life that for me wasn't there otherwise. I've really never had a normal job. Many of you know I was a musician, a touring musician, before I decided to run for office, and that was the job that I had when I got married to my wife. My wife asked me if I wanted her to come down tomorrow. I was like, you can do whatever you want. She said, okay, I'm not coming. So. I think she's ready. She is coming. She's not coming for this. But I've never really had a real job. I've never really had a normal job. I have had real jobs. I've never really had a normal job, and after leaving here, this was not a normal job either, for sure. And many of you can attest to that. I want to thank a few folks, and I'll be brief. I don't have any written comments. Most of the things I've done in the Senate have been pretty scripted, so I'm going to be not scripted for once. But I do want to thank some staff members. Matt Thompson, Alex Seipert, Linda Bushman, Cindy Cadillac, Heidi Kolkmeyer, Mark Figgenbaum, Stephen Marion, Boz, I don't know what Boz's real name is, but Stuart Murray was my former chief of staff, Chris Sutherland, all of our nonpartisan staff who will get many, many thanks over the course of the day, and rightfully so. My wife and kids, when I first got elected to the House, I was 28, about to be 29. My wife and I had been married for about 8 years at that point, but we didn't have any kids. And fast forward now, I'm getting ready to turn 42 next month with 3 kids, and it's been a hell of a ride, and one that I am so honored to be a part of. Many people have said what I would have said if I would have prepared any remarks, but this place is what you make it. And there are not a lot of things that you can take from it. You will have pictures, you'll have framed bills that you've worked hard to get passed that the governor signs or the governor vetoes and you get overridden, and or the governor vetoes. You'll have, various things and trinkets and fun little things that you come across in your time here. But really, the relationships are what matter. And that's true in life. Cindy and mine's relationship is a great example. I don't think she liked me when we first came to know each other, when she was the aforementioned Facebook warrior. And now, I'm gonna miss her every single day. I really think that her evolution and her understanding of this place is one that a lot of folks can look up to. My relationship with my predecessor, Dave Schatz, and that continued relationship, we played golf together a couple weeks ago. Surprise, surprise. Has been one that I will cherish forever. And the relationship and the mentoring of Governor Kehoe and others has been incredible. But the piece of advice that I want to give is this place is incredible. It is. People have told me it's the best job you'll ever have, and I don't know that I am there yet. But it is a generational opportunity if you make it. The things that you have the ability to do, think about it. We live in the greatest country in the world, albeit with all sorts of issues. The greatest country in the world and the greatest time in that country's existence. And we have the opportunity in one small state to impact the lives of 6.5 million Missourians. That is something. And as a Christian musician who doesn't have a college degree and went to college for one semester and then went on the road and started touring, to have the opportunity to do this, and for so many of you to elect me into these positions, those are opportunities that you're going to walk away and you're either going to look back and say, I took advantage of the moment, I seized the day, or I didn't. And there's always going to be missed opportunities, but you want there to be as few as possible. And I think we have, in this particular setup, this citizen legislature, we all go home to families, and we all go home, and a lot of us have other jobs. I think this setup is the way it's supposed to be. This makes sense to me. We get it. There is context that we bring to this chamber when we make decisions. But at the end of the day, nothing matters other than those relationships. Nothing matters than what do you have to look back upon and the things that you can take with you that are long-standing, that mean something, that are permanent and not just temporary. It says in Jeremiah, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, to give you a hope and a future." When I was giving my opening speech, when I became the pro tem 2 years ago, I said it, and I still mean it. You're all here for a reason. I was here for a reason. And we have an opportunity to embrace that moment and that reason why God has put us here right now. We have that opportunity. It's the reason why on election night, contrary to popular belief, I sent 3 text messages, I think. One of them was to Governor Kehoe, one of them was to Bill Eigel, and one of them was to Denny Hoskins. One of those guys I like, the other two, whatever. But everybody assumes that because of what they saw here, this theatrical presentation that we put on, that those relationships weren't worth continuing to invest in. But I'm rooting for Bill Eigel's success. I'm rooting for Denny Hoskins' success. I'm rooting for Governor Kehoe's success. And I'm rooting for each of you. And that doesn't mean your political success. I don't actually really care about all that much, and I'm going to care about it a lot less coming up. I just want you to be happy. I want you to be fulfilled. I want you to have joy. I want you to love your families and for your families to love you. And I get to walk out of here with my head held high, with a family who loves me, albeit they're not here. And that's worth its weight in gold. And everything else is secondary. It's really, really important. But it's all secondary. This is a great place, and I am praying and hoping for the best for the next couple of years. You guys are in great hands. And you have an opportunity to do generational things for the folks of Missouri, and I hope you take advantage of it. God bless.
Thank you, Senator Rowden. You'll always be 2.1 to me. Next, we have a tribute to Senator John Rizzo by Senator Lauren Arthur.
I have the distinct honor of recognizing someone who is not only the most respected senator in this building, but also the most well-liked. So no pressure, right? Of course, I'm talking about my colleague, my leader, and my friend, Senator John Rizzo. It was another great leader from Independence, Harry S. Truman, who once said, "It's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit." To me, that's statesmanship. That's John Rizzo. He's been focused on outcomes, not accolades. He's thoughtful and strategic, probably to the supermajority's dismay. He's funny and tough. He's a loving husband, caring father, and loyal friend. There are a million descriptors for J.J. Rizzo. But the best way I can illustrate his character and why so many admire him is by telling this story. 2 years ago, there was a bill that JJ didn't like, sponsored by a senator from the opposing party. JJ could have drawn a line in the sand and fought the bill and screamed about it from the rooftops. In fact, that's what the KC Star said he should do. And that's what some leaders in Kansas City said he should do. They said he should take his ball, go home, and if he had, he would have been rewarded. Hometown editorials singing his praises, tweets and likes and shares for fighting the big fight. But JJ knew that bill also opened a section of law dealing with the criminal justice system. He also knew there was an innocent man in Kansas City who had been behind bars for more than 4 decades. And there was another innocent man in St. Louis who had been behind bars for nearly 3 decades, Kevin Strickland and Lamar Johnson. And so JJ did what JJ does. He quietly got to work. He worked with the Missouri Prosecuting Attorneys Association and the bill sponsor and the Attorney General's office, and JJ successfully added a provision to the bill creating something new, a motion to vacate. As a result, today, 2 innocent men are finally free. It was not on a bill he sponsored. It was not on an amendment he offered on the floor. You will not find his name anywhere in the journal beyond a roll call vote. It was through the unglamorous procedural mechanics and a floor sub that JJ got it done, and to him, that is all that matters. Of course, that amendment only provided a path to freedom for the innocent. The long, hard-fought journey to achieve that freedom was led by JJ's wife, Lindsay, and let's hear it for her, and their beautiful girls. You may have heard JJ has a new job now, and we know that there are a lot of things to do regarding Missouri's major sports teams. But I know that he is in the right place at the right time, doing what he does best, getting things done for the people of Kansas City and the state. Thank you for everything, JJ.
Senator Rizzo, please feel free to come to the dais.
I'm gonna do my best. I, like Caleb, didn't write too much down. I was hard to do that. So, obviously, Lindsay and my family are here, and I'm so glad that women made it into the workplace and out of the kitchen, because I wouldn't be here if they didn't. Because she supported us for a long time. Obviously, my parents gave me a good foundation and a good moral compass to fight the fights down here that we needed to have fought. Lisa, who's been with me since day one, I cannot thank you enough. Tom Hoppy, who's truthfully, we always joke, an honorary Italian and part of our family. Former Senator Callahan, who has been there for me no matter the day, the time, the hour. He always answered the phone. With the war room is always open. And Governor Nixon, who did more for me and Jake Hummel to get us to the Senate than he ever needed to or had to, but saw stuff in us that we probably didn't see in ourselves, and knew that given the opportunity, we would do pretty well. And he helped us get a foothold into the political world that we were trying to figure out. The Carpenters, who were one of the first groups to really buck up and put their support behind me when there were some people that had a lot of questions about whether or not I could win in 16. Obviously, my opinion, the best crew that you could possibly have around you in the Senate, in Don Thalhuber, who I think is probably one of the smartest people I've ever met, Seth Bundy, and is just a marketing and communications wizard, and Chris Shappy, who has been a steadfast counsel for us for a long time. And the group that has been a good support group to me, our friend group, that is obviously Jake and Sarah and probably 8 to 10 other people that we communicate with and hope to keep up with and go on vacations with throughout time. This job requires you to have a good support group, and if you don't, you got to release some of the bad vibes every once in a while and let people vent. And they have always been there for me through text or phone call or whatever it might be, but they have helped me through some tough times, and I've tried to help them when I could as well. To the caucus, thank you for letting me lead you. I'm incredibly proud of you. You will do fine. Doug will be a great leader. And you guys are doing well. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity in this chamber next year for reasonable people to be successful if you choose to. That will be up to you guys. I'll be watching from Arrowhead. But that is truthful. Cindy is more than capable to lead this Senate. And even though I probably disagree with her on a lot, she's a good person to her core. And to all of the guff I probably gave Caleb over the years that he didn't deserve. I am sorry, but it probably gave you a bigger backbone that you needed. But he really was, truthfully, Cindy could push a little too hard, and I could push a little too hard. And Caleb was always a great referee who had a steady hand in the Senate that would bring us back to reality when tensions were high, or we felt like we weren't getting our fair share, or whatever it was. He just has the ability to sort of even you out, bring you back down to earth, and understand that there's a job to do. And even though you might not win everything, will be opportunities in the future to win something. And I cannot tell you how helpful his even keel has been in this Senate, because most of you didn't see a lot of it. You will miss him. Then obviously, the Senate staff who stayed here for 50 hours the last week, and I think it was, I don't remember what the previous record was, but it was close a few weeks before. The Amaranth filibuster, that was 38 hours, and the corners were doing that, and they don't complain. They show up to work, and they are always professional. They treat this place like it is their home, and they protect it like it is their home, and you should listen to them more than you do. I should have as well, because we all get upset in the moment, and we all have emotions in the moment, clearly, but this is something that they take pride in. This is something more than likely they'll be around doing when you're all gone and back home. So treat it like that. Treat it knowing that other people will be behind you. This isn't a break it, you bought it situation. If you break it, it is broken. Period. The doormen who have become my friends, and I will miss dearly, because they have just been good people they've been there for all of us in one way or the other, whether that's, bringing us water or coffee at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, or turning the air up when it's a little warm in here, or whatever it might be. They have been great to work with, and I appreciate all of your friendship. And, the thing that I'd leave you with, if I could, is try to have fun. We take ourselves very seriously, and you should, because what you do is important. But you should have fun here. It shouldn't be so stressful. It is, and it will be from time to time. But you have to find those moments and appreciate them. I think that life in general is about moments in time. And it's not about money or power. It's about stories. And if there's one thing this place gives you, it is stories. And we will all relive them throughout our lifetimes and in years. Trust me, I've known lots of former politicians. They love to tell them. I do too now. But it matters what you do here. This chamber is extremely important. Having relationships with your colleagues is extremely important. As much as Senator Eigel and I disagreed on things, I will stand steadfast that he's a great father and he's a great husband. And I appreciate working across from him for the last, 4 years, Bill? And he is a more than worthy opponent. We are in a very difficult time in politics, but I know that we will figure it out, because I believe in you, and I believe in America, and I believe in Missouri. And it is important to try to find happiness and joy, as Caleb said, which got me going to begin with. But I feel like life is meant to be enjoyed and lived hard, so I will leave you with this. A writer who I appreciated, and he had a great quote, and it says, "We are here to laugh at the odds so well that death will tremble to take us." Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Rizzo. We are all happy you didn't come up and adjourn the Senate during that time. Our next tribute is to Senator Andrew Koenig, offered by Senator Ben Brown.
I'm here to honor a remarkable leader, a selfless servant, and a good friend. True leadership is hard to come by today. Many men and women have come and gone from this chamber, but few have left a lasting legacy like Andrew Koenig. It's not often we have the privilege of working alongside someone who consistently embodies the values of dignity, integrity, and humility. Prior to my arrival in the Senate, I had the opportunity to get to know Andrew, and I found him to be someone who was selfless, who had a tireless work ethic, and a rare talent for building bridges and finding compromise in an environment that wasn't always the most hospitable to it. Andrew became a friend and was someone who was an inspiration to me when I began considering a run for office myself. Andrew has always put others first, whether it was fighting for the needs of our state or reaching across the aisle to find common ground. He has shown us what true leadership looks like. In a time when division often seems more prevalent than unity, Andrew has been a bridge to bring people together and find solutions. He never sought the spotlight or claimed to have all the answers. He never acted like the smartest person in the room, even though his wisdom and insights often guided us through challenging times. Instead, he listened. He listened to all of us, to constituents, colleagues, and even critics, with an open mind and an open heart. He understood that the real leadership isn't about just speaking loudly, it's about hearing the voices of the people you serve. But he didn't just listen. He acted. With determination, vision, and a tireless work ethic, he accomplished so much over the last 16 years, passing key legislation such as one of the largest tax cuts in our state's history, and sweeping education reform legislation giving families more freedom and choice in our state. He is someone who has never hesitated to take on some of the biggest challenges our state was facing. He was willing to work with anyone and put politics aside for the greater good. Andrew Koenig was a true statesman. Andrew lives his beliefs. He believes in life. He believes that every child deserves access to a quality education and that hardworking families deserve tax relief. He believes in defending personal liberty. In fact, my very first time coming to the state capitol was to testify in favor of one of his bills that aimed to do just that. Today, I'm filled with gratitude for the services, sacrifices he's made, the countless hours he spent away from his family, and the countless time he's put the needs of others before his own. His impact will be felt for years to come, and his example will continue to inspire those of us who have had the privilege to know and work with him. Andrew's accomplishments while serving the legislature have truly made the state a better place to live, and I thank him for his tremendous years of service to our state. Andrew, you've been a mentor, a role model, and above all, a friend. We thank you for your service, your dedication, and your unwavering spirit. Your accomplishments have truly made the state a better place to live, and I thank you for your tremendous years of service to our state.
Senator Koenig.
Thank you, Senator Brown, for those kind words. Also want to thank Lily and Levi, two of my kids, for suffering through all those speeches. I'm not sure what is worse for them, suffering through all these speeches or missing school? I guess we'll have to ask them later. Also want to thank my amazing wife for going on this journey with me. I certainly couldn't do it without her, and she has truly been a huge blessing. Nearly these last 16 years, she's been up nearly 95% of the time with me in Jefferson City, coming up week after week. She has truly made it a lifestyle to support me in this endeavor, and that's a huge blessing. So this journey all started with me when I was in middle school. When I was in middle school, we toured the Capitol, and I said, someday I'm going to have an office in the Missouri House of Representatives. Through lots of prayer, when I was going through high school, I would pray. When I went to bed every night, I prayed that God would give me that opportunity. And so after 2 years of marriage, Brooke and I got married at 21. When I was 23, I asked her, I was like, hey, I want to run for office. And so she had a vision of her husband speaking in front of crowds. And so she always thought she was going to marry a pastor. But unfortunately for her, I told her I wanted to run for office. And so I served those 8 years in the House. And then unfortunately, I was forced into retirement at age 33. So I said, I guess I'll run for the Senate. And the Senate has truly been a great place. I loved serving these last 8 years in the Senate, being able to work on so many different issues. And almost every senator gives me this, whenever I go to negotiate a bill, almost every senator tells me the same thing. They give me a non-answer. And so I guess you're all saying there was a chance. So thanks for suffering through, the 50 drafts of every bill that I filed, and constantly, accepting me into your office to negotiate those bills, because I love those fights. It was great to work on tax reform, education reform, eliminating abortion, and thank you to all those Democrats sitting down in some of those filibuster, allowing those bills to pass too. So thank you. It was a great honor to serve here, and I know my kids that aren't here, they enjoyed these last 16 years. I entered the House with 2 kids, and now I'm leaving with 5. So it was a great honor. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator Koenig. Next, we will have, and last, a tribute to Senator Denny Hoskins offered by Senator David Pearce.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you very much, Governor. Well, 17 years ago, Denny called up and said he wanted to get a cup of coffee. So we went to Java Junction, and I didn't know Denny that well. I knew him. He was in our county leadership program called Climb, and I'd also like to introduce our Climb group. They're here in the upper gallery. Thank you. Okay. We're not breaking any rules, are we? But okay. And so it's good that Climb can be here to see their senator retiring today. So I didn't know him that well. I knew him through Climb, and he was a CPA. We had a friendly visit, and then he said, I'm looking at running for state representative. 17 years ago. I told him I'd be helpful, and he was running against a former mayor, and I knew it was going to be a tough job. And I encouraged him to visit with the Central Committee chair and with members of the Central Committee. And his question to me was, what's a Central Committee? So I thought, he's got a long way to go, and he has come a long way. I had nothing to fear, however, because Denny easily cruised to victory and won his first race by a landslide. Was it 122 votes? Is that what it was? Okay. I've watched Denny grow as a state representative and then as a senator. I've seen him take on more responsibility, and now he has a statewide presence and a statewide audience. Many things stand out about Denny, and there's not time to list them all, but I'd like to mention just a few things. On the campaign trail this past year, he was known for wearing a red jacket. In fact, I'm surprised you're not wearing it today. Or as he calls it, Old Red. Recently, he was bragging on Twitter that after wearing it during the past campaign, he was finally taking it to the dry cleaners. Really? 127 events without cleaning his jacket. Michelle, how could this happen? And that's something to be proud of for Denny for some reason. So I am not a lobbyist, so I can give you a gift. And so I have a gift to give. Can I have the doorman come up here? I have a gift to give Denny. There are 3 gift certificates from Family Dry Cleaners. September, October, November. Do yourself a favor and the rest of us and take your jacket there, okay? Thank you. That was money well spent, by the way. Denny did a lot of projects for back home as well, and I'd just like to list a few of those. The UCM Skyhaven Airport, a hiking and biking trail through Knob Noster State Park, which will be unveiled next month. Paving a road in an industrial park, getting a commuter lot on the east loop of Warrensburg. And in fact, every time my family drives by, they say, there's Denny's parking lot. So you're immortalized. These are all achievements that were important for his community and probably will outlive all of us here in this room. So thank you, Denny. However, his crowning legislative achievement, the one that he will always be noted for, was getting Old Drum as our official historical dog and Jim the Wonder Dog is our state wonder dog. That will always be something that he's remembered for. And that wasn't an easy deal. Both of those dogs were from his legislative district. The town of Marshall, the town of Warrensburg were very, very bitter toward each other. They both wanted the designation, and Denny was able to walk a tightrope and have both of those dogs immortalized by being a symbol. And for some reason, his previous senator couldn't get it done. So you did it the first year you were here. Well, this past year has been a busy one for him. Not only did he run statewide, but even more impressive, he and his wife, Michelle, have made a commitment to each other at the beginning of the year to enter a 5K or a duathlon once a month. Is that right? I don't even know what a duathlon is, but they're doing a 5K or a duathlon each and every month. So far, they're 8 for 8. 8 months they have done this. They've worked together. They've worked out. And as you can see by the pictures in our diagram, Denny has changed just a little bit. And he has 2 titles now to add to his impressive list. One is the Incredible Shrinking Man, and the other is Hottie. So he has those things to add to his list. Well, maybe it was those 5Ks that gave him the stamina to hold the Senate floor filibusters, either by himself or during an inquiry. But speaking of filibusters, those who have served with Denny knows that he is determined. And once he's made up his mind, nothing will change it. That's evident by his insistence on sports betting and regulating of gray machines. In fact, there were 2-to-1 odds that you would not back down on that. Even if Denny is the only one in the room, Denny will not back down, which is rare in politics these days. Well, for those of you who have served in the Senate, you know that campaigning and actually serving in the Senate is tough. It's tough on you, and as we've heard, it's tough on the family. And being in the Senate can either draw you and your family closer together, or sadly, in some cases, it can draw people further apart. But I thought what I would do is to get some quotes from his family and mention what some of his family members said this. Because throughout all this, Denny has been very committed to his family. He's been there for his children, wife, mother, and his entire family. And here are some quotes from his family. Michelle said, in Denny's time in the legislature, his family always comes first. And she went on to say, and she sent me a picture, this is a photo of my husband talking to an elderly lady with no cameras present. No gain for him, no publicity. He's just a good person. Denny doesn't serve his state because he wants credit or publicity. He does it because he wants Missourians and his family to live in a better place. His mother said this, from the time our 2 sons were small, our family motto has been, a Hoskins never gives up. It was instilled to them by their dad. When something gets tough, don't give up. Keep trying. Keep pushing. Denny has practiced this motto throughout his life. When he's in basic training, he said this mantra, and it helped him get through basic training. When he ran cross country, it helped keep him running to the finish line. And when the campaign season got long and tough, he thinks of what his dad has taught him. As Michelle said, I hate that his dad is gone. He would be so proud of Denny for winning his Secretary of State primary. Well, from our coffee 17 years ago, there have been some ups and downs. So far in his elections, he's 6-0, hasn't lost yet, but not every leadership race has resulted in victory. You win some, you lose some. But that's why we play the game. And now he's on the verge of being our next Secretary of State. I can hardly wait to see what the next 17 years brings to Denny Hoskins. I'm glad he's my friend, and people like Denny are representing us in politics and in state government. Congratulations, Denny.
Thank you, Senator Pearce. Senator Hoskins, please feel free to make your way to the dais. So, Senator Pearce, we were not on the order of business of introduction of guests, so thank you for once again breaking the rules.
Well, first of all, thank you, Senator Pearce, for those kind words. It's been a tremendous honor to represent the 21st Senatorial District. And, you know, Senator Pearce has been a mentor for me ever since I ran for state rep. And I used to call Senator Pearce every Thursday on the drive back to Warrensburg to gain his advice and ask him a lot of questions. And he always took my call, so that was good. That was good. I want to thank my wife, Michelle, Mom, Donna, my dad, Barry, and our children for supporting me throughout the years. I couldn't have done this without you all. I also want to thank my staff, Kelly, who just retired August 31st, so congratulations to Kelly. Amanda, my current chief of staff, and Rachel, my former chief of staff, as well as Mary Beth, my former legislative assistant. They've all been loyal and very hardworking team, and I always referred to them as the team. It was Team Hoskins. We were all in this together. Although my time here in the Senate is done, the Missouri Senate will live on just like it has throughout history. The Senate is a well-oiled machine, and I sincerely appreciate the staff and doormen who keep it running so smoothly. To my Senate colleagues, thank you. It's been an honor to work beside you, and I appreciate the lifelong friendships I've made on both sides of the aisle. And when I say both sides of the aisle, I mean it. Even just yesterday, I had lunch with Senator Beck down at Sweet Smoke Barbecue, and lo and behold, we got a few odd looks and a few comments from some of my Republican House colleagues that couldn't believe that we were having lunch together. And also, you know, Senator Rowden. And so when, you know, for those of you who don't know, I asked Senator Rowden to do my roast last night. Now, it probably would have been a lot more difficult if I'd asked him to do my tribute today instead of my roast. But he did a great job. And when I called him and I said, hey, our paths have kind of led on a collision course, and I'll take the blame for some of that. I know he will as well. But with just some of the groups outside of this building put us on a collision course, and I thought by asking him to do my roast, maybe we could put a lot of that stuff behind us and move forward in whatever endeavors that we have. The life, Senate life is not the real world, and I always said that. I mean, this is not the real world, living in the Senate or in the House or in this building. You know, there's no other place where you stay up 51 hours in order to break a filibuster or to filibuster and try and get something passed. And remember why you came here. The Senate has a lot of big personalities, and sometimes it's easy to lose your focus. I always said you get out of the Senate what you put into it, and I know some of you others have said that as well. The harder you work, the more you'll get out of your time here as a senator. I know I'm leaving the Senate in good hands, and I want to sincerely thank you all for your friendships and the memories. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hoskins. Again, thank you to the folks in the Senate who really make things run and put things together for putting this ceremony together today. I would remind all of our attendees that we have the Pro Tem's portrait unveiling at 11:15, and all of the Senate colleagues that the requirement by our Constitution veto session starts at noon today. Thank you all for attending, and God bless each and every one of you.